Okay, everyone, it's Saturday morning, and we're going to go through the Tai Chi Paradigm and the long form, the 108 movement form. So we'll go through the exercises as we usually do, and then we'll pick it up from, um, wherever I think would be the best place, and it's probably halfway through the paradigm form. Okay, hands up, hands here, or like this. This is our hoop position, so begin. Turn your shoulders, really working your spine. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and stop. To the side, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and stop. Okay, hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right. To your left. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands on your waist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Cross. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Hands on your waist. Neck turning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, center, tilt to the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Center, rotating, 1, 2, 3. Reverse, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, spread your feet. Turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. And stop. Ready? Stretch it out, turn to your right. Okay, so we just open up the legs a bit to get this area a little bit more flexible. Don't force it. We're trying to get a little stretch in here so the back has to be straight. If you lean forward, you're actually just kind of putting pressure on your front leg, so you want to kind of balance yourself between this space. So just let your muscles relax and you'll feel a little bit of a stretch. All right, switch. Let's go to the other side. Let's do it again. So you can feel it in here a little bit. And turn. Now we're going to straighten this front leg, get the back of the leg, slide down. Release the tension in the back of the legs if you can. Switch. 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 Okay, let's turn to the center. Reach down. Okay, now we haven't done this for a while, but we spread our feet one side at a time, we can actually work toward the downward posture. So people doing the Tai Chi Paradigm, this position isn't in the form, so you don't have to actually do this. You can do the leg turning that we typically do in the class, and then ultimately you can actually go into a double spread where it's a little bit more stressful, a little bit harder to do because now you have to let your legs go out to the side, and then that actually opens up the hip even more. And you have to gradually do this in order for your legs to adapt. And these positions, as we shift, really stretch in different ways. So it's more than just the inner thigh and the hamstrings. It's in here, it's the back of the leg. Actually, when it comes to your muscles, there's lots of different groups that you have to involve to stretch. So because whether our hands are turning or our legs are pivoting, they're all different muscle groups. And if one group of muscle is restricting or not cooperating, it's going to have an impact on your movement. So that's why some of the stances, the low stances, the deeper stances, or the kicks are compromising because of the tension or the resistance to movement. Okay, deep breathing. Okay, shoulder roll, hands on your waist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Okay, next, press, release. Exhale, inhale. Breathe through your nose. And stop. Hands up. Pull in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, now I'm going to do the wrist. I call this a wrist exercise, but it's actually creating a circle in front of your body. Pay attention to the size of the circle. So what do I mean by the size of the circle? It's not overreaching. So the size really is dictated by the top of your finger as it moves through space. Right? So where it passes in front of the eyes and where it reaches the bottom is about where the bottom of the hip is. You're going to define that space. Okay, reverse. So some of you that's following, this is mirror image, so you're not seeing yourself. So sometimes what I see when people do this is that you do the top, but you don't have the bottom because you keep your elbows too bent. So you have to elongate the arms and fold here because this is the center of the circle. So when you turn, you have to create a circle close to this size based on this relative position to the body. Now, if you don't extend it down enough, you're going to end up here. So you have to kind of define that space and then work with it, and then eventually connect the elbows and the knees to build that upper body relationship. Okay, so regardless of which way you go, it's going to be about the same size. Okay, the difference is one's counterclockwise or clockwise, and the other one is the opposite. Okay, now we're going to go bigger. All the way up and down and up and down and up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, shake it out. Okay, pull the feet together, spread the toes. Now you have this 90-degree position. So this is going to give you your square stance, and this is going to give you a triangle stance. So we go to the shoulder width stance. That's the stance that we go from side to side. It's the stance that we do all our basic warm-ups. It's the stance that sets up preparation. So that's really a good starting position, and it's also something your body starts to memorize. And then when we shift our weight and move it this way, we move from side to side. We're just building the shift and then identifying the supporting leg. Okay, so this eventually becomes innate, and you kind of know that you've shifted enough, and through practice you'll find your center. So we're developing control of our center of mass. Okay. And then when we lift up, it's all part of that motion, but then we break it down. We break it down, right? Shift, up. Shift, up. And we take it nice and slow. Find your center. So the legs have to find this point. The hand has to go up, and the leg goes up. So this is golden cockroach standing on one leg. And once you're in that position, you sustain it as long as you can to build sort of some muscle memory and some reflex action to find that position. Once you find that position, then you build some strength in the front of the thigh, because that's the muscle that actually holds it up. And then as you pull it up, it begins to build that strength. So I lost it there and here. So this is really what happens when you do your kick. So that's a good drill to help build a position that you can sustain for a period of time and then work off of that. All right, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Because some people in 108 movement form will ask the question, how can I improve my balance and strengthen my legs? Well, it's in these series of warm-up exercises that helps the balance and the strength required to lift the leg. And then the stretching has to be done more regularly. We've done it in the past with a chair where you kind of go down into the stances, because while we're doing stance work and going deeper into the stance, it's actually letting the muscles relax and expand, opening up. So it's not just the muscles that actually release. Your joint angle position has to open as well. So increasing range of motion is really all of what we're doing. Whether it's that or turning the torso, that's increasing range of motion too. Because the range of motion, if you don't turn, it lacks range of motion. So just turning 45 degrees, although it's not a huge amount, is restricted by the tension in your back or the tension in the front of your body. It doesn't turn, doesn't want to turn. Some of it is flexibility, some of it is range of motion, some of it is the inability to release your back and coordinate it with the front. So your body has to twist and turn. So though there are not a lot of big muscles here, there's a lot of connective tissue and a lot of that has to move in order for you to turn. Okay, next, we're going to move from this position, the shoulder width position, to almost shoulder width position. We have about 3 inches between your feet. Okay, so your feet are not like this. And we're going to take a step forward, forward, and forward. And what's happening is the hands and the legs alternate. So a lot of you that have pretty good balance won't need to do this type of a thing where you're trying to build that coordination and the relationship between the front and the back. And then once you have that, and once you've developed the rhythm and coordination, you just go into this and start to swing your leg, tracking the movement, allowing the joints, especially the hips and the shoulders, to let go and just build the rhythm. Okay, let's go to the other side. Now, we just kicked it off like this, we would just start. And that's typically what we would do in a class. But in order to learn, and you're not here, I can only imagine that some of you might be having some problems figuring this out. But what happens once you do that, you start to realize that this is what's happening. Okay, center. So this is starting here and letting go. It crosses the body. Okay, center. Okay, center. Shake it out. Hands up, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, next. Okay, Mino, what's next? The next exercise, we did that. So we're going to do silk reeling. Okay. So a lot of times when we go through these exercises, I know the viewership is pretty immense as far as location and time. So a lot of times I don't know who's following the class. I see that there's newer people. Some people already know these exercises. So people watching and following, you're going to hear a lot of the information repeated, and it's to capture the viewership of the people that are learning. And if you know this, you can start to run through it without actually breaking it down the way I do. But it's really something that I have to do in order to, teach the newer people exactly what has to happen. So that's really something that, for people that already know this, takes a bit of patience. But people that know this, you can actually do a lot of these drills on your own. It's a training method to develop the technique and to understand how the body should be moving. Now, what a lot of people that know these really won't reach a level of discovery until they actually continue to do this enough. So a lot of people think, well, I know that, I don't need to do it. But actually, that's not how it works when you're studying something like this. You don't really know it. And that's a term I use a lot. You think you know it, but that's a mental understanding. the physical understanding isn't reached or acquired for a time after this practice. So really it takes for individuals that are different times of discovery. So you have to actually go through this process. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to go to the other side and do the same movements. And the reason we all look somewhat different with a goal to all look the same is because we all process this differently. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, let's cross the arms. Step out. Open and close. So we start in a cross arm position. We open to the front hand on the same side as the forward leg is straight. And it's pointing directly toward the camera. It's actually in line with my leg. The side one is actually curved. So if I brought my hands in like that, you would see that that's the half round. Okay, so it's elbow out. We cross and we open. We cross and we open. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, when you're complete in the position, both hands are facing this direction. So that's something that you have to pay attention to, because in order for both hands to face the direction, this hand has to turn out. Okay, on the other side, the same thing happens, but it's now the opposite side. So this front leg, this front hand, this is the straight hand, this is the curved hand, the half round. You cross and you open, and you cross and you open. Now we're here in this position, both hands are facing that way. We cross and we open. There's a little bit of up and down in the legs if you haven't picked up on that. So there's a lot of, what we call, dimensional change. So when you make these dimensional changes, your body actually will adapt over time. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Next, we stand in a shoulder width stance. Okay, we're going to do the first movement in the form. It's called preparation, but I use it as a drill so that you can work the upper-lower coordination, learning to sink your elbow, learning to relax your shoulder, keeping a vertical torso, and running through the motions. Okay, let's form the lower hoop. So this is standing meditation. There's 5 positions. There's You can actually hold any position inside a form just to develop that muscle memory. But for purposes of what we're doing, we just work with these positions. They're the geometry of positions, and it just defines a space. So this is lower hoop, shoulder height, clear your thoughts, tongue touching the roof of your mouth. Breathe through your nose, gaze toward the front. Steering is not gazing. Gazing is kind of seeing everything but yet not seeing anything. It's just clearing your thoughts. Some people look at a black hole, look at a black dot on the wall. It's just a state of mind. So that's what we do when we stand in this meditative position. We clear the thoughts. It's what they call in the moment, but at the same time, you're actually feeling what the body is feeling like while you're in this position. So you're deleting any excessive tension. All of that stuff happens as a course of holding a position over time. So that's really the purpose of even holding this position. It's not just a mental thing, it's actually a physical thing as well. Your body has to release that excessive erroneous tension in the body. So that's the two hoops. This is the elbow down position, but also the triangle. Okay, let's go to this position. That's your hoop, passing through that till you get to this position. Now the first three, the knees are slightly bent, not tense, just bent and relaxed, holding a position. This is more extended. So the last two of these positions, the elbows are elongated, the knees are elongated, and the torso is expanding, lifting as if pulling up from above. Okay, palms are facing down, so that creates a pressure, a pushing in the downward direction. And then we release the fingers, straighten the wrists, and then feel like you're thrusting, but without a real force. It's just mindfully feeling that elongation without locking out. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So those are the fundamentals, and they're part of limbering and part of building some integration of body. But we're actually building control. We're controlling different components of our body and developing an awareness of what parts to move, what parts should be involved. So we work the whole body from the top of the head to the sole of our feet, trying to gain this experience. And it does take more time to do something slowly like this than to do something very quick like either walking or lifting weights and so forth. Those work muscles. This actually works coordination and a relationship in the body, which is sort of trying to define and refine your motor skills. And if you don't have a lot of control, it's built over time. And as you build control of your musculature, you'll build better control of your limbs, because that's actually what has to happen. So as training for functionality, we first have to kind of identify what parts move and how to move them. So it's a process, and it does take patience. So that's why a lot of times Tai Chi is prescribed to older people, because of the idea of loss of balance, improved mobility and coordination. they prescribe that because younger people, although they may be just as uncoordinated, don't have the patience and at the same time haven't reached a stage where they feel that they need it. So every stage of your development and every stage is really tied to a demographics, which defines what kind of things that you want to do at that stage in life. And those are kind of your objectives on a physical level, on a mental level, on a declining level. They're all different. So a lot of times when you first watch these videos, it's boring. But at the same time, the captured audience, I think, at this point, are the people that feel that they need it the most. So this is something that has to be defined and separated. Now, younger people that are doing it, depending on your objective. I know some people that are younger can get involved with this because of the mental state and at the same time the physical capabilities. So, some people actually prescribing Tai Chi, or some teachers that are musicians. So those objectives are slightly different. So what you get out of what we're doing is multifold. You can benefit based on the mindfulness and the understanding of how all of this works. So this is really one of the things that I try to get across, because if you understand it, the reality is that you're more likely to do it. But if you don't understand it, then it's just like everything else that you will try, that it's not for you or it doesn't work or whatever. It's just really a function of time and patience. Okay, now we're going to move through some of the other positions which are really defining posture. So this is a position. We did silk reeling earlier, so this is just a piece of that silk. This is called diagonal flying. You could call it path the horse's mane. They look similar. It's not important to make a real big distinction, so just take it as a name, and it's going to show up in the form at different points. Okay, switch. So names are just identifiers. So what do you identify with the name? A look. If you use it to name a person, the person has certain characteristics, and you recognize that person. So look at this body form, and you'll begin to recognize it. Okay. So we're in the diagonal flying position. Next, we're going to go through here, and we're going to do this, which is really these. Offset in timing. When one is up, meaning the fingertips, the other is down. And you just kind of flip between the two, and they go from side to side. Okay. So a lot of times someone would see that and end up doing this and get confused. So just go, take the thumb and go in this direction. Take your thumb and go in this direction. So you won't be able to do that if you're leading in this direction with the thumb. So that's just a tip to know which way you're headed as far as movement. Now, if I face the mirror, which is probably better for you to see from behind, we're moving like this. Back in the day when people used to hitchhike, which is a while ago because of some of the safety issues and so forth, this is how you would thumb a ride. You'd go like that. You don't go that way. You want to go that way. So you're going to go this way, and then you're going to go this way. So that kind of gives you the idea that that's the direction your hands are moving. Now, if you're making a circle, you turn your shoulders. And you turn your shoulders because the spine rotates. So we're actually as if standing in a cylinder, wrapping ourselves around like that. So that's how cloud hands transitions across from right to left. So here's another idea, is that in Tai Chi we move forward and back, and then we move right to left. Well, this is the same thing happening here. I'm moving to the left, then I'm moving to the right. I'm moving to the left, and I'm moving to the right. So that's kind of balancing the direction of movement. Now, if I move to the left, that's what happens. If I move to the right, that's what happens. And this is something that is important to learn to shift your weight and move in a direction. So you see how balance of the upper and lower body becomes a relationship. While we're moving our feet, this is how we develop the feeling and expression of those movements, because our body starts to pick up on the motion, and if you track it with sort of this visual imagery, then you start to begin to see, how a person moves. So when you watch people walk, or you watch people run, and you watch people do things, you pick up on how a person will be moving. You can tell if someone is off balance. It's gross movement. You can tell if someone is heavy on their feet or light on their feet. Those are all sort of qualities that you pick up on when you watch someone move. So when you're watching Tai Chi, you have to actually pick up on the position, pick up on the transition, pick up on the way a person is shifting the weight. So there's a lot of information you have to take in on a visual level, because that's the first line of learning. First line of learning movement, or even a first line of learning anything, becomes a visual thing. So if you're visually impaired, it is much more difficult to learn something like Tai Chi. So your visual imagination, your visual, all of that really has to be heightened, because you're relying on what you're taking in audially and then interpreting it and making it into something that you can imagine you're seeing. So the description has to be more distinct, without the physical imagery. So watch closely in order to pick up on that, and then the more you see these videos, the more you'll be able to interpret it and bring it out in the forefront of your mind, because what comes here ends up in here. So if it's not captured here, it'll never show up here. So that's really some of that process I'm talking about. Okay, now, after cloud hands, and we move from side to side, we go into carry tiger to the mountain. So we're going to go here. We lift up to the eye level, so that's the upper hoop. Now, upper hoop, we turn the palm out in many instances because it's a structure. So in the upper hoop, we have stork flaps wings. We have jade lady work shuttle on one side or the other. We also have a position when we raise the hand, whether it's one side or the other. Okay, so there's the upper position. If we're in the long form, there's beat the tiger. When we're in the long form, here's 2 punches to the ear. Okay, so you can see this is the position. When we turn like this and turn like this, we have fan through the back. So the geometry of position starts to make a big difference if you're trying to develop accuracy of movement and then the correct posture position. So that's what we're trying to do when we go into different postures, define that space with the geometry of our positions, and then eventually you develop a good posture, sort of transitioning into it, which is actually another level of understanding. Okay, so from there, we get the upper hoop. Now we got a cross hand position. Okay, that's a position that's a place that you pass through. It's a pass through. You pass through to get to another position. Okay, so when we pass through, we really define your center. So if I turn here, or I turn here, it's setting up for the next directional position. If I'm here and I go up, that's a position that's going to take me somewhere, maybe in a position like this. Or if I'm here and I bring it down, okay, and I separate my hands, it becomes an insert needle. Or if I'm here and I turn to the corner and spread my hands, or cross and then press down and open from here, you can see how the cross hand position starts to become centering. Okay, so that's why all these little bits that you have to develop as an understanding. So just carry tiger to the mountain. Then we go to here, and then we have the infinity sign. The infinity sign is a figure 8 on its side. It's also called divert, block, and punch. So this is divert and block. So you can see the hand is moving, but what's the difference between this figure 8 and a figure 8 in another direction is the vertical plane of movement, or the X and Y, Z axes that you go through when you define the direction. So what we're also learning is that movements are directional. And directional movement sometimes is challenging for many people because we're so used to seeing things flat. Whether it's on a screen or whether it's on a piece of paper, it's flat. But if you're an artist and you're dealing with, say, pottery or pieces of structures or so forth, you realize the three-dimensional side of positions. And at the same time, we start to be able to connect with three-dimension and movement. Form the fist is actually multi-dimensional. You've heard of multi-dimensional, but then multi-dimensional. What is that? That's just something that we can get into it at a different stage. But here we just form the fist and we punch. We form the fist and then we punch. Palm up, roll the fingers, and punch. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Let's bring the palms together. And we're here. And we're here. So really we're just making 2 semicircles, landing in the center, and we alternate the palms, okay? So really that's a right side and a left side, neutral, single whip, or vertical elbow, okay? Kind of self-explanatory what a vertical elbow is pointing down. It's in the vertical direction. And then when we go to thumbs up, that's the horizontal elbow, though it's not perfectly horizontal. It's rounded, considering this the horizontal. So you have a right and left side. We bring the palms together, and we flip-flop them as a transition, tying the right and left sides together. Relax the shoulder and sink the elbow. People that have been doing this for a while, you hear that term a lot. You've heard it so much you probably don't want to hear it anymore. But the thing is, do you really hear it when you come to a position where you're not sinking the elbow and you should? Okay? One of the things when we're learning, and we realize this as we progress in age or reach certain stages in life, that you can't take it for granted. And what taking for granted is that things go away and you don't know why. Things don't happen and you don't know why. So that's part of, even learning this. If you think you know it, then you really can't get anything else out of it. So when we speak of sink the elbow and relax the shoulder as a principle, you're going to miss the whole point if you think that it's only in one place. Okay. Now we're going to cross the hands and do this, right? Lift the elbows and do this. So that's really fan through the back. It's just a bigger circle going to the side. We have the right on the top. So look at the position, separate the hands, and end up like this. That's your fan through the back. This is in front of the forehead, but if I'm turning back to center, it would end up over here. So that's the swap, just moving like that. So in the 24 movement, that's actually what would happen before we do the next movement. But here we scoop down and we open and we scoop down and we open. And because this is the Tai Chi Paradigm, the stance is more in this position, and we scoop. So we have a balance on both sides. Next, we're going to raise the hand. This is heaven and earth going up and down. So you reach the sky and you touch the earth. So you're actually practicing this rising movement, keeping the alignment of the body to give a good extreme position. And you find vertical above, it goes through the body, and you find the vertical above on the opposite side. Then you allow everything to elongate and stretch. So it will increase the range of motion, but also keep the body more flexible. So when you increase range of motion, you're actually expanding and reaching a limit, but at the same time, realigning your skeletal structure, allowing your ligaments and tendons to release with the release of the muscular tension, and allowing that alignment to happen so that you have structural integrity. So a lot of those concepts are not important to someone that doesn't understand what we're trying to do. But the simplest thing to understand about alignment of the body is if you're standing in a vertical position and you stack your skeleton, then your body will be in a neutral position. Neutral in the sense that it's not going forward or backward, to the right or left, so that would be your vertical center of mass and the center of gravity. So in the stacked position where you have a good alignment, then your body is going to be in the most efficient position to stay up without actually overusing the musculature. Once your body's misaligned, then one side is going to work more than the other, and you go through this process daily, yearly, and so on. Your body eventually starts to form these positions, and then that feels like the natural. So that natural position is actually a misalignment of the body, and at the same time, your musculature becomes imbalanced. So that's not good. That's why when we do this, it has to be relaxed. It has to be gentle and soft so your body can adapt. You can't adapt when you maintain that tension in the body because it's not allowing it to happen. So then you'll end up forcing the movement. So that's really what has to happen as a process of this practice and training. And at the same time, your body will evolve if you give it a chance and you have an open mind to allow this to happen. But if you close your mind off and think that, well, it doesn't happen or it doesn't work, then you actually already lost the battle. So going forward, we're going to go through, we've done the brush knee several times. So let's see what strum the lute is like. So when we go to the vertical position and we turn 1, 2, you see there's the first action, here's the second action, and then closing the door is this. Okay, now when we step up and form the fist, this movement when we step up is the same movement that we have when we open the form. So that footwork is important. You learn it day one when you're learning the sequence, and that movement is common, right? That's stepping up. When we're here and we move the center and we step up in the grasp the sparrow's tail, that transition shows up when we're here. To go to step up and raise the hand. Okay, so you're constantly learning and evolving, but because initially you learn something, it's that. And it's compartmentized in those places, but you can't really relate to it or understand where it's going to happen again. So I just pointed out to you that it's constantly happening, that you're learning and building. When we do this in the turn, is really what happens when we're in the stork flaps wing and we turn into this direction. So that's the footwork. Okay. When we do this and turn, when you step up the first time, and we go forward and back, that's the foot that's kicking out. When we shift our weight, flip the hands, and we move into here, this position, and step out, that's your right foot step up. Now, I have grasped the sparrow's tail here in the form, but it's also a position where if I decided to step through and raise the hand, you would bend from the waist and do stork flaps wings. Now, when you're learning sequence, we have all these transitions, but when do these transitions happen? So as course of the learning, you have to learn the posture. When you link it together, you have to follow that pattern consistently from beginning through there, from the beginning to the point you learn, from the beginning to the point you learn, until you program that sequence of events. Now, the transitional side of it that takes us into different directions become something that the body has recognized as a transition in a direction, but not necessarily taking you in the right direction if you don't know the specific order of the form. So that's why when we start off, we always start off in the beginning learning to shift that weight, coming to this position, and then at this point, bring in that pivot. Bring in the dropping of the elbow. Bring in the shift of the weight. Bring in the first step. Then we're here. Then we have grasped the sparrow's tail. Forward, palms down, backwards, inside hand up, and you push. So there's 4 movements there. Then we pivot. So that's pivoting like this. So do we have this pivot? We have it when we're here and here. So where do we go from there? In the form is actually only 45 degrees. Now we bring our feet to this position and track the parallel line. We end up opening on this side and then turn to here. So you say, well, when do we open here? Well, when we're here and we turn like this, don't we open here? So that's kind of little transitions that we don't pay attention to, because when we get to there, we can't actually connect the two. So that's why learning is really the building blocks that you need to work with throughout all of the different strategies of movement. So when you build these, eventually your body houses all this information. Then you have to execute, and you have to execute by doing each motion separately. So anyways, that's part of the process. Learning the sequence is building blocks, and learning it. Sometimes I do it in the frontal position. Sometimes I do it mapped out as a sequence, as learning the sequential part of the form. So at different classes, we have different approaches. Today I just did a lot more on the things that we just discussed about the geometry of position, sinking the elbow, why cross hand is important, why these positions are important, because sometimes you don't realize that that's what's happening, that you're just copying. So that's what we do. But then you have to bring in a certain amount of information that you need to digest and then kind of support your movement. So we're going to go through the whole form, and that's going to run into the 108 movement, and we'll just run it through. Okay. So we're going to be here. We're going to pass through. Flip the elbow. Grasp the sparrow's tail. One, two, three, four. Hold the ball. Shift the weight. Diagonal flying. Shift. Step up. Press forward. Shift. Step up and raise the hand. Bend from the waist. Stork flaps wings. And relax. Turn. Hold the position. Brush knee and push. Turn. Flip the hands. Brush knee and push. Sit back going forward to a step. turn, flip, brush, knee, and push. Forward, twist, step, brush, knee, and push. Sit back, go to the right, back to center, lean forward, close the door. Form the fists and punch. Divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Bring the hands down, nope, stay up. Fist under elbow. Neutral position, we round out and repulse the monkey. Sit back, go forward, step back, repulse the monkey. And we're going to go one more time because we do 3. Next, we're going to go to vertical, horizontal, hold the ball, toe out. That's the second way of holding the ball. And we're going to go up to diagonal flying. Sit back, toe in here, insert the needle, and then fan through the back. Turn, stroke down, parry and punch. Step up, form the fists, and punch. Divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Okay, next we're going to carry tiger to the mountain. Cross the hands. Now your left hand is on the outside, the left hand is going up, and it doesn't go way up there, it just goes up to about here. Okay. Then we bend, turn, lift the other hand, and we're here. Stork flaps wings, and then we're going to turn, toe heel pivot, left side grasp the sparrow's tail, hook your wrists, left side single whip. Okay, now we hold the ball. Reverse the ball, diagonal flying, sit back, stroke down, part the horse's mane. Okay, so see, it looks just like diagonal flying. But it's near the end of the form, so let's cross over, finishing up with Jade Lady work shuttle. On each corner we have the cross step, Jade Lady work shuttle, hook your wrists, single whip. Okay, here's hold the ball, here's cloud hands, so we drop down and we transition. So we're just doing 4 hand movements and we're here. Okay, now we hold the ball and reverse the ball. Fingertips out, shift the weight, step back and close the form. And then close. Okay, deep breathing. So obviously, any one of those pieces of postures or parts of the form can be focused on, and a good 20 minutes or half hour could be spent on each part of that form. But because this class is reaching masses of people that are at different stages, I try to run through bits and pieces for everybody to get something out of. But going forward, when we open the school at the end of June, we're going to continue the live classes, or begin the live classes and then continue the streaming. And then at that point, because I'm not just running through the form with students that already know it, I'll break those into more tutorials for specific parts of the form, and we'll rebuild the form from the beginning. So I do that different times during the week, but at the same time, I think in July, we'll probably go back to actually relearning or learning sequences and learning forms, so we can build that as a more itemized type of learning and more formatted. And the other thing is, if you like this content, subscribe, go to YouTube. Let us know that you're subscribing, and let us know maybe through the chat that, there's certain content that you want me to go over. That way it gives me something to build on as a lecture or a class. So then at the same time, a schedule is going to be going off for the members that are existing, and that's going to kind of define I think a survey has gone out, and we will be doing at least 2 live classes in the morning for Tai Chi, and we'll see what's going to happen in the evening. The live stream will continue, and we have some other ideas. So that's going to be rolled out more for a September schedule, but during the soft opening in July and August, we're going to work it and accommodate the students, as well as with some of the guidelines that's required. But before we even get to the very end of June, where we're going to roll out some classes and schedule, we were thinking that we would have maybe 1 or possibly 2 Tai Chi sessions in the back of the school in the field, because we're allowed actually to have some group stuff outside if we reserve the park to do that. So that would be more for members and people that have finished the form, because we're just going to go out there and run through it and do a sequence like we typically would do, and then kind of reacquaint ourselves after such a long separation. I think it might be good to meet up and then see what's going to happen, right in the beginning. And it's probably going to be June 29th as the first class, because that's entering the 3rd phase, and Tuesday being that first day. So it'll still be that Tuesday morning class. So kind of think about that. And as far as the backside, because we stream on Saturday, we could possibly do that on a Sunday morning, where people might have a little bit more time. But here again, we need the social distancing, so we'll be just out there. Hopefully there's not too many people, because then we might, begin to raise Cain, and people will not like it. So anyways, that's that, and I'm going to move on to the 108 movement sequence, and we're going to go through from beginning to end, all right? So let's start off with preparation, and we're going to continue right through the form. So that's what a lot of people like to do, because after the form, they go about their business. Stalk, flap, swings, and then this continues just like we've already learned. So these are your obliques. The obliques are the sections not in the Tai Chi Paradigm, but there's nothing new as far as postures. It's more of a remapping of the form. So this will bring us back to single whip, and we have our first set of cloud hands. Okay, and we begin that. We have 6 set of hand movements, and we have a bunch of jogs in here that allows us to adjust our legs and our positions, trying to maintain structural integrity and balance. Beginning, the biggest change in the form is these kicks. So we learn to begin to high pat the horse, cross the hands, stand on one leg, and kick and turn, heel kick, brush knee, forward, brush knee, sit back, and forward, sit back. Oops, sorry. I was out of frame. Now I'm really out of frame. Okay, back fist, step up. Okay, fold the elbow, lift up, open the leg, cross behind, open the stance, beat the tiger. Right heel kick, 2 punches to the ear, cross hands, fold the elbow, cross hands, open. This is potting leg, turn, flip the hands, crossing hands. I went over all of these crossing positions when we're doing the drills. Okay, then we step forward, form the fist, and punch. Divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Okay, now we're going to do this again. We're going to repeat the carry tiger to the mountain section. And we move in, cross, and then we move down and turn. repeat. This is a repeat. These are your obliques. Once you've learned the obliques, then you just replicate and redo the movements. Hook your wrists, turn back to the front, and we begin holding the ball, diagonal flying on the right. Then we turn and we do the part the horse's mane 5 times. We step up, stroke down, part the horse's mane. Step up, stroke down, part the horse's mane. Cross over. Here we have Jade Lady Work Shuttle, and goes to the 4 corners. And that's a transition to right and left sides. There's variations as how we go to the corners, but we use the cross step. Forward, back, and forward. Turn, turn, and we're into this last Jade Lady Work Shuttle, and that's capped off by Grass the Sparrow's Tail. So that gives you a setup to go back to single whip in the front, and we're going to do the second set of cloud hands. Okay, so really we build off the redundancy of these postures because as creatures of habit, we have to work through the movements over and over again until it's embedded and programmed into our long-term memory and then wired to our movements and taking it into the subconscious. Now we're here. Snake sticks out tongue. We worked on this the last few classes, and we go up to cross hand to Jade Lady Work Shuttle, thrust and kick, Jade Lady Work Shuttle, and then we start to go back to repulse the monkey. And we go forward and go back. Go forward and go back. Okay, next we go to center. We lower the hoop and we carry tiger to the mountain. We open the stance and then we squat down and we continue. Step up and raise the hand. Bend from the waist. Stork flaps wings and turn. Brush knee. Repeating this whole series. Inserting the needle. Fan through the back. So I think as you start to progress and you pick up on, you start to recognize the transitions, and then you just keep following along. Eventually it sinks in. And you step up, grasp the sparrow's tail. Single whip. Then we're here again for the third set of cloud hands. Okay, then we have palm strikes face, and we have a single lotus kick, which is just one hand slapping the leg, and we go to the left side brush knee. Then we go to the punch down to crotch, which is really punching down 45 degrees. And then step up and repeat, grasp the sparrow's tail. So as I said, grasp the sparrow's tail, single whip. These are postures, and they show up a lot. Okay. Now we're going to go to the downward posture. Just like brush knee shows up a lot. So they must be important postures. Just like diagonal flying or part the horse's mane. The changing of the palms, the double lotus, draw bow to shoot tiger, the center line, palm strikes face. That happens quite a bit too. Okay, deep breathing. So, we do all these movements, and say movement is essential life, but, one of the things that I discuss is that without movement, you wouldn't have circulation. So good circulation is one of the things that we try to stimulate because we need to bring, not just oxygen, but nutrients to the muscles, to the cells, actually. So, why is that important? It's because these are the blockages that blockages that people have from sort of not moving or isolating certain parts of the body that don't get great circulation. So, the skin is actually at once was noted as the biggest organ in the body. So what brings nutrients to the skin is through the capillaries that are underneath there. So most people that do Tai Chi, even at a senior age, their circulation is good. So usually their skin and their vitality is shown through this organ. So really you can tell that, a martial artist or a person who's practicing moving their body over time, that there is that benefit. They've discovered another organ that they're not quite sure what the organ is. It's that little bag that surrounds all your organs, and it's part of, they think, the lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system is very important in part of your immune system, and that's why, Tai Chi stimulates your immune system, or exercise stimulates your immune system, because stimulation of circulation and your lymphatic system actually helps build this barrier. So all these things we're talking about is through circulation, as simple as it is what we need to enhance our, quality of life. Preventing age-related degeneration has to do with motor skill. Motor skill ties into movement. All of this stuff is really important. And then that really ties into what happens up here. So really, everything that we're doing works the systems in the body, from the brain down through your body and through the cellular level, sounding pretty amazing as it is, but it's true, it does happen, and I know for a fact, because I've been doing this so long, that I wouldn't be, in the physical condition, I imagine, without doing this. Some people say, well, maybe it's genetic. The genetics has something to do. I think genetics has more to do with the ticker, whether your time is going to be up or not. That's all tied to that in your telomeres. But aside from that, if you do have, the great
opportunity to have a long life, the important thing is to have a quality of life. So quality of life has to do with functionality. So importantly, that at whatever age it is, you should start to do something like the Tai Chi and understand that there is this benefit. Now, younger people, when I speak of circulation, they're not thinking of circulation. They're not thinking of balance. They're not thinking of all the things that I'm addressing here, mainly because they take it for granted and they don't really need to worry about it. Their skin is healthy, the circulation is good because they have vitality and they have youth. So when that is present, why do you need to think about what someone else needs at a later stage in life? So that's why there's a conflict in how young people and older people think. So that's really part of the course, but it really comes to interest. So people that actually do Tai Chi that are younger want to do the Tai Chi that's more aesthetically pleasing, maybe something more athletic, and there is that side of it, but that's on the modern side of Tai Chi, which is pretty amazing what they do, not sort of like gymnastics or things that young people do in different stages of their life as in competition for the aesthetics and the body movement. But that's a totally different goal and totally different ambition. So, there's that aspect, but then there are some younger people that want to develop, that want to use their mind a different way, that are actually drawn toward Tai Chi. So, the door's open, and then we have to figure out who we can attract to do this. But at the same time, when we're doing the 108 movement form or the Tai Chi Paradigm, what do you do after sequence? What do you do after you memorize sequence? Well, it's refinement. Refining movement is defining your space, the accuracy of your position, and then build your transitions. So while we do this a lot, we just pass through it. But does your body actually begin to recognize it? It does. It does take time because you have to go through this metamorphosis where you're going from a position that's new, deleting the habitual side of going into a position that creates some of the excessive tension, and then building off of that so your body becomes fairly natural. And then at that point, your body will go there consistently. Then the transition that happens really is tied to how your body integrates. So if the back is a little tight or the legs are not cooperating, you have to go through a phase that all of that has to get comfortable and starts to work together. So for every individual, you will evolve differently. But you have to keep in mind that there's a process and then you work through it. The important thing is that you get up and you do it. If you don't do it, you really will never know what you're striving for. So while we do this, toe out and step through and change, this is going back to really basic things. You go forward and back and you twist and you step up and you turn to do a brush knee, or you turn and go back to center. That becomes a transition. Between this and this and this, it's tying your upper body to the lower body through your torso. Believe it or not, back in the day when people were much more filtering as to who would learn Tai Chi, turning the back was a secret. Believe it or not, turning the back is a secret. So why? Because they didn't want to let people realize without discovering on their own that there is an integration of body tied to the waist. So the waist is your torso. So if you just have people working their arms and then working their legs, there's never going to be a connection. So that little bit of verbal information is not transmitted, then everyone would just mimic and do what they're told to do. And most people learn and follow what they're told to do. That's why a lot of people have difficulty doing it on their own, and they have difficulty with the discipline of exercising, because they don't really understand or why they do things a certain way. So really, learning after form is beginning to understand how to build that integration. And as your body starts to understand that, that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that the body, the mind and the body has to make a connection. Okay, so your body will start to learn to expand and contract and to move right and to move left and to move forward and back. So you've heard that idea many, many times. But that idea, as simple as it may be, is what houses everything that we're talking about. Without right, left, center, and central equilibrium, there is no balance. So the thing is, understanding that and then moving through it and allowing the body to adapt is what actually happens. So here again, by doing that, you build, brain plasticity, neurons. You build circulation, which is the key, because if you're using your body, you're using up the resources, and you have to, resupply. It's sort of like your car. You put so much gas in it, and it depends on how far you drive. The further you drive, the more frequently you have to reload, and that's filling with a fuel that has to provide the energy. Well, for us, the fuel is food, right? And what we feed our body, and when we feel our body, is all what supports, the infrastructure that produces what we need to create these motions. Now, because we're using very little energy, and because we're not wasting energy, because it becomes efficient, then the amount you fill yourself up with and the amount of oxygen you need will be less. So that's efficiency of movement. So as you age, isn't that the best way to go? To be efficient in your movement, you waste less energy and do things correctly so your body is working efficiently, and then supply your body with the essential nutrients that it needs, and then at the same time, build that balance. So that's how all of this works. It goes all the way down from your top of your head to the soles of your feet, from the outside of your body to the inside of your body, down to the cellular level. And because we're dealing with the human body, it's going to do most of it by itself, just through attrition. It just happens. That's how amazing this learning process is. We just go through it, and eventually you get the benefit. But you have to follow the guidelines, just like we're trying to follow the guidelines when we reopen. There's guidelines that you follow, and hopefully they're the right guidelines. Sometimes you could be misled, and then it'll take you a little while to come back to the right track and then find out what you should be doing. So on that note, give us a thumbs up. I think I ran out of time. Subscribe, YouTube, and possibly, when we are able to schedule it, join us in the park. But knowing the form is actually essential too. All right, on that note, I'll see you next week.